This is Fast Mass Bodybuilding's performance coaching call. We are going to help you uncover the fundamentals and master the fundamentals of training. We're going to help you build more muscle, burn more fat, and really focus and highlight on specific fundamentals of movement to really help you master your training program. So with this specific call today, we are going to dive in on tempo training. We're going to talk about the different strength curves and how to really maximize your training, how to build more definition, more muscle mass faster, and how to really maximize your time in the gym. All right, I see a lot of people going through the motions, doing the typical gym bro split and doing the typical style of training where they're just throwing weight around without any intention. All right, so first thing I want to say here, guys, this whole concept that we're about to explain to you really is focused in around having intention. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know why you're doing it. And from there, you can start to maximize on it. You can start to really improve upon it. But if you don't have the intention, you're not going to really get the most out of it. And that can be said with anything in life. You always want to start with intention. Be intentional with what you do. Don't just go through motions. Be intentional. Have a plan. Know in your mind, visualize what you want to do, see it before you're doing it. All right. That is step one. Step one to success here. So now I want to talk to you. Josh and I are going to talk to you a little bit about what it is, why we use it, and how to use tempo training. All right. So just for a quick definition, guys, tempo training is adding a little bit of tempo into your sets and your speed while you're training. All right. It's to build more muscle. It's to really be focused on strength training and hypertrophy training. Now, Josh is going to explain this in more detail, but power and performance training is not really utilizing tempo because it's a whole different ball game. All right. So we're just focused in on strength training, on hypertrophy training, building muscle, burning more fat. So when we're using hypertrophy, guys, the whole reason why we use it is to really maximize our efficiency in the gym. We're overloading specific specific portions of the strength curve. So that way we can focus on our weak points, areas we're weakest in, so we can build them and start to get stronger in those areas. If we spend all of our time in the zones where we're the strongest, our muscle's not really getting that full strenuous stimulation that it needs in order to grow. So tempo training is designed to slow down the movement or speed it up and really hone in on specific areas where we could all really build more strength in. All right. Areas like when your muscle is fully stretched or when your muscle is fully contracted. A lot of people really spend time in the middle of that range. If you want to think about a full 180 spectrum, a lot of people spend time close to that 90 degrees, right? In the 45 to 90 degrees where the muscle is strongest at the joint. There's more leverage in that area. That's why we have more strength. But if we go a little bit past that, closer to the 180 mark, that's where we don't have a lot of strength because we feel a lot more of the load from the weight. And a lot of people don't like to spend time in there because it's harder. It's more difficult. But that is exactly why you need to spend more time in that zone. If you experience a plateau, that is exactly why. It's because you're not maximizing your efficiency and moving into these weaker zones. You got to really make sure you're lengthening the muscle fully under load, under tension, and make sure you're maximizing your contraction, really squeezing that muscle and spending more time in that area. All right. So why do we use tempo training? Biggest thing, guys, it's solely to build more definition and more muscle growth. All right. I have a client, and I'm sure Josh can share his testimonies here in a second too, but I have a client specifically, one that I'm thinking of, who was just struggling with seeing definition. He was going to the gym, he was doing the workouts that I wrote for him, but he was just not seeing the progress that he wanted to. And we analyzed this, we looked at it, I tore it apart and asked him a bunch of questions to figure out how he was doing everything. And I realized that he was not being intentional about how he was going through the movements. He was not really focusing on slowing down the eccentric, really keeping it under tension, and then really focusing on a harder contraction. So I implemented tempo training. I told him how it works, and I told him exactly what to do. And within a couple weeks, he experienced a lot more soreness in the muscle, and he experienced more muscle growth. He could visually see more definition in his muscle mass. You can see more separation in the fibers, bigger, fuller muscle bellies. And all of this is directly affected and correlated to tempo training. It's incredible, guys. It really is. So, Josh, what do you have to add? Do you have any clients that you're thinking of that had experiences with this?
Yeah, so my first job out of grad school was in a private sport performance training facility, and they like specialized in tempo training, manipulating tempos of all different kinds. I mean, whether it's squat, bench, deadlift, row, pull down, shoulder press, you name it, everything was under. We were varying the tempo. And so, yeah, I've found great results. I mean, even me personally, the year and a half, or excuse me, about 8 months to a year that I was there, I did a ton of tempo training for my own programming and found great results. The programs that I'd write for my friends and family during that time saw great results in terms of size, strength, definition. The one caveat that I want people to realize is the amount of soreness that you are going to get from this style of training, if you're not used to it, is going to be substantially more. It is incredible the level of soreness that you will feel if you do it right. I mean, uh,
Yep.
you've mentioned it. Studies have shown that roughly 75 almost 75% of muscle growth comes from the eccentric portion of the movement. So if you aren't controlling the eccentric, you are skipping out on a large portion of muscle growth that could be had if you were to be controlling it. And sometimes, depending on the population or the type of athlete that you're working with, in your case, Dylan, you're working with a lot more physique competitors, bodybuilders, and so on. The tempos are probably going to be every bit of 4, 5, 6 seconds. Depending on my population, which is mostly athletes, I won't go more than maybe 6 seconds. I mean, I'm a lot of 2 or 3 seconds, sometimes 4. Um, Also, another thing that I want to add, the consistency at which you count your tempo is significantly important. So
Yes.
some people might be like 1, 2, 3, 4. That ain't 4 seconds. If you're doing a 4 second eccentric, a 4 second eccentric is going to be 4, 3,
Yep.
2, 1. The difference in terms of the time under tension that you have for an eccentric, whether it's a squat, a deadlift, a bench, is going to be significantly different. So, one of the things that I try and tell people is if you are going to do this on your own, you need to make sure that you are being very conscientious about how long your tempos are, because like we just said, your count might be 4, 3, 2, 1. My count might be 4, 3, 2, 1. So, not saying that one is right versus the other, but the consistency at which you are counting, depending on the movement, is going to significantly dictate how well you grow that given muscle. So,
Absolutely. There's a study that shows that about 45 seconds, continuous tension on the muscle for about 45 seconds and beyond is the perfect zone for extreme damage on that muscle. That's where we start to grow that muscle. All right. So that's why it's so important. There's guys that'll go through this just like Josh just said. They'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they won't get anything out of it. The reason is because you need to hit that 45 seconds. You need to spend well over 45 seconds time under tension. That's how you maximize your efficiency here. That's the whole reason why we do this. It's to create longer time under tension, guys. So make sure you're counting. A good thing to I always do is count just like you count seconds. Mississippi, even like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Just find that rhythm so you can stick with it. And that is the hardest part, but it will be so worth it. And then another thing off of that, when you start to do that, when you start to slow it down, one thing that you'll start to experience within the first week is, before you start tempo training, you could have issues with really your mind muscle connection, really feeling the muscle work. You're not feeling a hard contraction. It doesn't feel like the muscle is fully activating. If you experience that, this is why tempo training is so important for you. Because once you start doing that, once you focus on slowing down the movement, once you focus on controlling it more, you're going to start to ignite your neuromuscular facilitation. It's the mind muscle connection. You're literally wiring your neurons to activate and stimulate and control your muscle mass more. You're turning on your nervous system, so to say. So the more you do this, the more you practice at it, the better you're going to get. So don't be discouraged if you try it once and you're like, this doesn't work, I don't feel it. Keep at it, all right? Slow the movement down, really focus on where your body is in space, right? Understanding how you're moving, start analyzing how you're moving, and work on improving your form and improving your movements each time. You're going to start to feel it more. You're going to start to burn out faster, and you're going to start to build more muscle and see more definition so much faster. It's crazy how quickly it really works. I swear. Like Jason, I was talking about, my client, he saw results within the first week. Within the first 2 weeks, he started really seeing significant strength improvements, and within a month, his physique was completely different. So this is the one thing, guys. I know I hate saying that one thing, because there's really always a bunch of factors at play here, but this specifically is going to be something that can drastically transform your physique in a really short amount of time. It's going to take you to the next level. But with that, understand that going to the next level also means you're going to experience pain like you've never felt before. So I feel like, Josh, it's very important to say this here, to mention this for everyone, so they understand that the more pain you endure, the more it sucks, the better you're going to look. And I know that sounds contradictory and just not fun, but I promise you, the more you can endure the pain, the more you can endure the suffering, the better you're going to look, the more success you're going to have. And frankly, that's with everything in life. That's with everything. If we could talk about one big issue with today's society, it's that right there, man. But we won't talk about politics or anything like that. That's for a later thing. We'll stick with muscle mass. But seriously, the more you can endure pain, the more you can go through the trials and tribulations and the suffering, and you're going to be stronger. All right. You're going to gain more out of it. So endure that, because when you're doing it, you're building up lactic acid. All right. And lactic acid helps you build more muscle. It's a good thing. All right. It's a good thing to feel that pain, to feel the muscle being broken down. That's how you rebuild yourself into something new, something stronger, something better.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great, guys. So definitely really make sure you're counting slow. All right. And make sure you're reaching the end at the time that you allow it to happen. So basically what I'm saying here is, let's say you have a 4-second eccentric. All right. Don't reach the bottom by the time you get to 3. All right. Slow it down. Make sure you can really hit that fully stretched position when you say 4, when that 4th second happens. All right. Don't hit it early. Don't hit it late, but hit it right on time. And then as we move, make sure you're moving throughout that range of motion. So just understand that, slow your movements down, be in more control. A good way to understand this is, if you can stop on a dime at any point in the range of motion, you have control. All right. A lot of people, for example, doing squats, they'll only be able to stop when they're at the bottom. If I'll tell a client just to go ahead, start squatting, and they start going, and then I say stop when their like knees are just slightly bent, but they can't stop, that shows me that they don't have control and they're not loading their muscle properly. So this is going to be how you fix that. It's going to be how you really start to load your muscles, start to control your muscles, start to control your form. And a byproduct of all this, guys, as well, is you're going to prevent so much injury by doing this properly. You're not going to have tightness, stiffness, soreness that causes injury in the future. I've been training for close to a decade now, and I have not had a single injury, knock on wood, praise God, because I focus on these fundamentals. And I teach this to all of my clients as well. And I've been blessed to have nobody with injuries, and thank God for that. So this is a really big factor. I definitely think it is a massive factor at play. Just understanding how to control your body, hit the tempo, control it, and focus on these improvements. So what is tempo? All right. How do we use it? All right. So we're gonna break this down for you guys. There are 4 numbers, all right, in tempo training. The first number, excuse me, is your eccentric, how long in seconds it takes to fully stretch, fully lengthen the muscle. All right. The second number is how long you pause when that muscle is fully lengthened in seconds. Third number is the concentric phase. So this is the contraction, the shortening of the muscle. It's how long in seconds you go from fully lengthened to fully shortened. All right. The fourth number is how long you pause when that muscle is fully shortened. So putting it all together, you can change up the speed at which you perform the movement. Now, this is killer, especially when we're prepping for a bodybuilding show, when we're getting ready. I like to do 10-second eccentric, 10-second concentrics. Dude, I swear, that is killer. You've never trained like intense until you've done that. It's killer. I wouldn't recommend it for the faint of heart because you will cry. I cried. It was horrible. But I gained so much muscle mass from that. I swear, I looked incredible when I stepped on stage from doing that type of training. So you want to build more mind muscle connection? Start tempo training, guys. Definitely. That's killer. So now this doesn't work for every type of style of training, every goal here. We have athletes and sports performance people who are focused on power, focused on explosive training. Now, Josh, this isn't quite for them, right? This isn't what they want to focus on, right?
Correct. I mean, for the most part, if I'll say it like this, if you're an athlete and you really need to pack on some size in an off season and you don't have a lot of other activities going on where weightlifting is your primary focus, you can absolutely do eccentric tempo training, however you want to call it. You can absolutely do it because the amount of muscle soreness that you're going to get, the amount of lactic acid, calcium ions, all that kind of stuff that's going to happen from this style of training, you have plenty of time to recover. If you are someone who has a shortened off season, or you're in an off season but you're doing a lot of other activities, I would not recommend this because odds are this type of training is going to affect the activities outside of the weight room. So I don't like to say that no athletes can't do it. You just have to be very smart. If you're an athlete that's in charge of your own training, you have to be very smart about when you implement this because it can and will affect other areas outside of the weight room, we'll say, if you're not careful.
Yeah, that's huge, guys. That's huge. So we definitely don't want that. We want you to focus on your goal, understand what your goal is. Is it to lose weight, to build muscle, or is it to be a better athlete, right? You don't want to do this stuff when you got an important game that you need to be 100% for. Right? So just
Correct.
understand what your goal is, and then you can utilize these techniques properly. All right. But if you're in off season and you want to pack on some size, this is the way to do it, guys. This is the way to do it. I'm not going to say it's the only way, but it's definitely the golden ticket here. So now you may be asking yourself, okay, so I start tempo training. I really start hitting the 4-second eccentric, 1-second concentric, and start to mess around with pausing at the fully lengthened and fully shortened. How can I improve? What do I focus on to improve? Now, this is a great question because the most significant aspect of all of this is keeping time under tension. All right. So when you talk about improving off of this, as you go through this and you practice it, your mind muscle connection is going to be enhanced. It's going to be easier to connect with your muscle mass or whatever muscle mass you're working. Right. So if I'm doing biceps, it's going to be easier over time after I practice this to really be able to feel this fully lengthened and feel tension on that muscle. You may start and you may fully lengthen your muscle, but you may just feel like it's not under tension. That's okay. Just really try to focus Focus your mind. Visualize the muscle fibers stretching and contracting. All right. And that's going to help you. One thing I do when I'm doing this, when I first started doing this, I visually thought about the muscle mass contracting and shortening, or contracting and lengthening. And then I also mentally told myself, when I'm fully lengthened, I think, okay, I'm going to contract my biceps, contract whatever muscle you're working, and then I'm going to start the concentric phase, the shortening of the muscle. I'm going to start contracting. So you initiate with the working muscle before you start the movement. So a good way to do that is when the muscle is fully lengthened, think about the muscle. Think about, okay, I want to tighten it. I want to activate it. I want to flex it. And then I'm going to contract it. All right. So fully stretch, flex, and then contract. All right. You do that over and over and over. One, you're going to see a significant increase in fatigue during that set. Two, you're going to notice a lot more DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, a few days after that, which is good. It doesn't mean your muscle mass is growing, but it signifies that damage happened. And then depending on how you recover, that's going to help you really grow. But you're also going to really start to feel a cramping in the muscle, a pain maybe like you've never felt before. Now, when you experience this, it's good. All right. Don't stop. Keep going. Push through. And just like Muhammad Ali always said, I don't count when I start. I count when it starts hurting. All right. That's when you start counting, because that's when it counts the most. So Arnold even talked about doing this. He talked about really doing as many reps as possible until he started to feel that burn. And then he kept doing more. A good way to do this, guys, I always tell my clients, when you start feeling that burn, when you say you're doing 10 reps and you hit that 7th rep, that 8th rep, and you start to feel the fatigue and the burn and the cramping, you do that 10th rep and you're like, oh, dude, all right, that was hard, but maybe I can get another rep. What I want you to do, I want you to minimum get 3 more reps. All right. Do 3 more reps after that. If you can get 5 reps after that, then you can do another 10 reps. All right. Keep pushing yourself. That is the key here. Keep pushing yourself, because this whole thing doesn't work unless you continue to push yourself past failure. I know that sounds kind of weird, right? Past failure. How can I go past failure? But I promise there are ways to do it. This is where assisted reps, have a partner in the gym, help you get those last couple reps, help you with your form, help, the lift, the spot, whatever you need. You can be on machines and assist yourself. It's the coolest thing, and it helps so much. So after you hit failure on the concentric, when you contract it, you just can't contract that muscle anymore. You still have more energy for the eccentric. The eccentric has not hit failure yet. So this is where those helping reps, assisted reps, forced reps come into play. You can overload your eccentric after you can't fully contract your muscle anymore. All right. So what you do, a good way to do it, here's an example: chest press. All right, bench press. Let's say you got a spotter behind you, safety first, right? Then, so you go down, you can't push anymore. You've done 10 reps heavy, you failed at that 8, and then you're like, all right, I still want to get 3 more. So you have your spotter lift it up for you. You still push. He's not doing the work for you. You're doing the work, but then you slowly release on that eccentric, keeping it under tension, and then your spotter helps you get it up again, and then you slowly cause that eccentric to happen. All right, focus on that slow stretch under tension. You do that for the last 5 reps, then you've truly experienced failure. All right, that's key, guys. A lot of people stop too early. Don't be one of those people. Don't be that person that stops early. Don't be that person that bitches out. All right, that's not you. That's not Team MU. All right, we are hustlers. We go for the gold. We grind, and we don't stop until we are finished, until we cross that line. And then we sprint some more. Right? That's very important, guys. So be sure, if things to improve on, focus on your form, focus on maximizing your reps, making sure you hit true failure, get a spotter, get assisted lifts, help yourself in that way. And you are going to see a significant increase in your muscle mass, in your definition, in your tone, in your fat loss as well. Because this isn't all about gaining muscle. This is about burning fat. Because burning fat is a byproduct of building muscle. You got to build muscle in order to burn more fat throughout the day. All right, boosts your metabolism, helps you utilize more energy, you utilize and tap into those fat cells to burn it more efficiently and effectively throughout every day. All right, this is the whole reason why we do it. That's why building muscle is the key fundamental for having long-lasting, sustainable weight loss. That's great. Josh, you got any final thoughts?
No, I mean, you basically hit on everything. I think, again, just be careful about when you're using it. Be sure to be safe. Have a spotter with this type of form, or I should say, this type of training, because you are going to bog out quick, depending on your level of experience with this style. And yeah, just push through. I mean, this is one of those styles of training where like effort is going to be key. If you're willing to put forth the effort, if you're willing to go through the suck, you're definitely going to see some results.
Yep. Effort is key, guys. Go through the suck and endure, and you will build the body of your dreams. Well, thank you guys for joining us today on this coaching call for Fast Mass Bodybuilding's performance techniques. We are going to help you master the fundamentals of muscle growth here and ultimately create a healthy, stronger, leaner, sexier physique. All right. Thank you guys, and we will see you next week.
Hi guys, thank you for watching this video. I am so honored to be here, to be your guide, and to help you build the body of your dreams. If you found this video useful, if you liked it, share it with a friend, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, smash the bell so you can get notified when we create more muscle building content so you can learn the keys and the fundamentals of success. Thank you guys again for watching this, and I'll see you in the next one.